One question that I'm getting a lot of people ask me about is what to do if you work with your spouse. Now, some of you are like, I would never work with my spouse. Others of you are like, well, I'm kind of thinking about it. And others of you are like, yeah, we're already there. And so I'm going to teach you four things to know if you are working with your spouse. And I will share with you that I know this professionally, but I also know this personally because my husband and I, we both had our own businesses that we started, launched, hired people, marketing teams, all of that stuff. And then we co-founded a company together. And so we realized like, wow, this is really different. You can have a relationship and then you have a working relationship. And those are two totally different relationships. And so four things I want to teach you. Number one, this is not for everybody. This is not for everybody. There are some people that it's just, they're a lot better if they just don't work together in business. And because these are two totally different relationships. You've got relationship marriage and you've got working relationship. These are two totally different types of relationships. And so you might do really well on the marriage side. And you're like, yeah, I don't think we're going to do really well on the working together. That might be the case. Or you might do really well on the business side and working together, but not so well on the marriage side. And I just want to share with you, that is okay. It is actually okay if you actually don't do both. And you just kind of figure out, you just want to really figure out that for your actually self, and just don't beat yourself up for it. Don't be hard on yourself for it. So it's not for everybody. Okay. It's not for everybody. Second thing I want to encourage you to do is if you're thinking about this, okay, so let's say there's a new opportunity to work with your spouse, or maybe you've got, even like this applies even if you've got kids, maybe entering a family business, or maybe you know somebody that there's a family business or some opportunity for you to kind of go work there. I'm going to strongly encourage a trial period. I've done this for a long time. I've done this for 25 years. About 30 to 40% of our clients are family businesses. And I've seen the value on having a trial period. This is where co-op placements are great and internships are great, but there's like a start and a finish. Because for you, let's say you're the spouse that's kind of thinking about it, it's a really great thing just to say, I'm just going to do this for like 3 months. This is like a 3-month contract. And it gives you a chance to test drive it. You get to test drive. Do you like working with your spouse? Do you like to see it in that kind of, to see them in that arena? Do you like the kind of type of work? Do you like that relationship, how that kind of translates back to home? Does that feel really good? Does it feel energizing or does it feel too heavy? Like test driving things are really important. So I strongly encourage you to do a trial period. And I've done this with, like I said, lots of clients. And I've had clients where literally they're like, okay, we're gonna do it for 3 months. Within like 3 weeks, they're like, okay, this is not working. This is not a good fit. I don't like it. And it's so good that you have an exit strategy, right? So, and then I have other clients that are like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. They've got like amazing skills. This is the gap. This is perfect. So having a trial period and a short, a start and a finish time is really great. The third thing I'm going to strongly encourage you to do is, and again, this seems so basic, but it's amazing on just how infrequent it is with a lot of teams that we work with, is again, when you've got your relationship and then you've got your working relationship, what I often see is people get a little bit too relaxed in this. So there's no title, there's no job description, there's no clear pay, there's not a clear role. It's very vague. And you know what happens when things are vague is that all of a sudden people are not, you're not able to fulfill expectations because the expectations are unclear. And so a lot of times when we work with our spouse or if we work with other family members, we just get a little bit too relaxed. And I'll often tell clients, I'll be like, so what's the job description? Well, we've never really written it out. Well, what's the pay? Well, we don't really have, like, it's so unclear. And so you want to have very clear, almost as if you are going to be posting an ad on LinkedIn or some other kind of social platform, like what would be that entire job description? And then the spouse or the partner can say, yeah, I'm going to do that, or not, I'm not going to do that. So have really, really clear boundaries, very clear guidelines on what that role is, what the pay is, and with what those expectations are. So that's number 3. The fourth one is, I would say, one of the most important ones, which is you need to set boundaries around when this relationship stops and this other relationship starts. This is something that my husband and I figured out. When we both had our own business, it was like we would, be at work, and then we would come home, and then we would share sometimes about with what happened at work, but we would be sharing like as husband and wife, right? So it was just kind of like more kind of social sharing. But then when we founded the company and now we're working full time together, there is a very strong temptation, and for anybody who works with your spouse, you know exactly what I'm talking about, for all of a sudden this working relationship to just kind of like take over, and all of a sudden you're talking about work all the time. It's like you never really take that hat off. It's like you only have this kind of one relationship. And so one of the things my husband and I figured out, and every couple's got to figure it out. I'm not saying this is the only way to do it. I'm just saying I think this is one really important thing for people to think about, is to set really clear boundaries around when this relationship stops and this relationship takes over. So for example, I'll start my day, usually it's about 7:30, and I'll go to usually about 4 o'clock. And when I kind of finish my work, so during the work day, we have our work meeting. So we've got our clear hours around when we're working. So about 7:30 to about 4 o'clock, we're talking work, we're talking business, we're talking what's happening with clients, all of that. And then in the evening, we're not perfect at it, but we try to literally take that hat off and shift to husband and wife. And so then when we're husband and wife, we don't talk about work. We don't talk about contracts or clients or any of that. We really try to kind of keep that line really separate. And that's hard. That's hard because sometimes something will kind of come up at like 8 o'clock at night, and it's like, oh, I want to talk about this. And so sometimes we will, and sometimes I'll say, you know what? There's a work question. Can I just ask you really quick? But I'll ask, okay? I'll ask. Because by this point in the evening, he's kind of put on his husband hat on. And so by having that kind of clear expectation, can I ask, he's like, nope, I just want to send yourself a little message for yourself and bring it up to me tomorrow morning. So you have to be really disciplined actually with it. But then it gives you this space as a couple to just be husband and wife. And then one of the other things that we've done, which I have found really helpful, again, in the evening, is that when we are sometimes talking in the evening, we talk every evening, but just like before we had this shared business, we would sometimes talk about our day. So you kind of want to still leave a little bit of room for that, even as husband and wife. And so literally the language we'll use is, okay, can I ask you a question, wife to husband? And it'll be something, it might be about work, but I'm really sharing about it as a wife to a husband, not as a business partner to a business partner. And so it feels different. It feels much more social. It feels much more like I'm connecting to my husband about something that actually had happened at work. And so having those very clear lines, these are the hours where we talk work, these are the hours we are husband and wife, it just gives you this breathing space to really hopefully enjoy both parts. And if you can do it, and if you figure kind of this out, I think it's pretty amazing. I love working with my husband now, but I will tell you, there were a lot of things we had to figure out in terms of our working styles, our preferences, just setting up boundaries, what our strengths were. And so it definitely takes trial and error, and it takes a lot of problem solving. But if you can do it, it's great. But if you also realize that it's not for you, that's okay too. There's not one way, but those are just at least 4 tips. If you are thinking about it, for you to implement, to really hopefully have an amazing relationship, both with your husband and your partner as well.